Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Christopher Lauer with the Brushfire Mind. It is Sunday night because that's when we do the show now. We're starting at 2000, and well, tonight we're going to be dealing with the fallacy of the week. We're going to talk about the red herring fallacy.
This is Christopher Lauer with the Brushfire
And
Mind. It is
I've gone live, and apparently I'm talking to myself on the other monitor. So there we go. That's because I've got the other monitor open over there so that I can keep an eye on the viewers popping in and the live chat over there. So, hello, viewer. Please feel free to engage us in the live chat window to my right there. I'll keep glancing over to see if you're talking to us. So, this week's fallacy of the week, we're going to talk about the red herring. Before I go into the red herring, I'm talking about the reason we're talking about the red herring. And that is, there's this Robert Reich video that's been popping up on Facebook lately. I think he actually published it on Christmas Eve. You guys keep an eyeball out for it. It looks like this. So we'll do a little bit of treatment of this and talk about this while we move forward tonight. And he argues essentially that Donald Trump's treatment of the media is similar to other tyrants that have mishandled the media previously. And of course, it's almost amusing to hear his explanation and his analysis on this, because as you'll see, as we'll point out, it's pretty clear by the end of it that this man is either unschooled or malicious. It's either that he doesn't actually understand what he's saying, or that he is deliberately misleading to cause harm. So that's where the red herring comes in. Last week we talked about the straw man fallacy. Now, in a straw man fallacy, you set up a false argument that's similar enough to your interlocutor's actual argument that the two can be confused in conversation. And then you knock down the straw man. It's easier to do, right? You know, you think about knocking down a straw man, think about running up on a scarecrow with a baseball bat. In the case of a red herring, you bring up an additional argument, but not to discuss it, only to distract from the fact that there is an argument on the table which you are incapable of defeating. You bring up the red herring to draw attention away. So, as we'll see when we watch the Robert Reich video, and I'm going to go ahead and tag this a little bit, but we'll probably talk about it more in depth when we get to that part. The big red herring comes at the end of the video. He says, he talks about how Donald Trump tweets a lot. And what his accusation is that by tweeting, Donald Trump is cutting the media out of the process. That's true. And that's not a bad thing. And I'll explain that too. What he's arguing, for one, he says the word media comes from the word intermediary, and explains, and that's because the media is supposed to exist between power and the people to deliver the message from power. Well, no, the media is one method that power can use to deliver the message. But what he's doing here, this is a red herring. And this is a particularly devious red herring. The word intermediary and the word media, they sound similar. A person who doesn't have a background in linguistics or etymology or philology or lexicography, a bunch of big words that mean studying words, might not have an actual grasp on where the word media comes from or what it means in the context that it's used when you're talking about the media. So let's hit that for just a second. The word intermediary comes from a Latin root. Inter means between, medium, or literally the word medium, right? So it is a thing which is between two things. It exists in the balance between them, in the space between. That's what an intermediary is. The word medium, or the word media, is from the Latin word medius, which refers to layers, but in the context that it's used in English, media is plural for medium, and the word medium in that context refers to the organization, the construct, and the pattern of dissemination for information. So if you paint on a canvas, then the canvas is your medium. If you print in a newspaper, then the newspaper is your medium. If you record on a VHS or if you broadcast over YouTube, that is your medium. Media is plural for that. So when you say media in the context of referring to the broadcast media or print media, the newspapers, what you're talking about is the way that they send out the information. It has nothing to do with there being intermediary to power and the people. So what this guy, Robert Reich, is arguing for is literally a new Vatican. His opinion, his position, and what he wants you to believe, not to be his opinion, but rather to be the truth, is that you, the American people, you, the unwashed masses, the plebs, are, as the Vatican had it before, you are too dumb to interpret the word of God or the word of Trump or the word of Washington. You are not intelligent enough to digest the information that's being put out. And so the clergy, or as Robert Reich would have it, the newspaper, television media, the mainstream media, the press, they should be allowed to interpret the word from on high to you and tell you what the word actually means.
Which would do nothing like turn them into a propaganda wing, would it?
No, not at all. Of course. Certainly. So by using
that would be a really poor propaganda campaign if people chose to share this video across social media all by themselves.
Wouldn't that be terrible? We're looking at you,
way.
one viewer. Share this video. Also subscribe, but the balance of probability is you're already a subscriber, and we love you for that. Thanks. Anyway, so that's the red herring. That's what the red herring is, how the red herring works. And now what we're going to do, we're going to steel man this video after we have a little bit of chit chat here between the three of us. We're going to dig into this video a little bit. And we're going to steel man it. What that steel manning is the opposite of straw manning. A straw man, you set up a fake argument where the fake argument is easier to defeat. With a steel man, what we're going to do is we're going to call him out. He's going to make vague points, and we're going to call him out. No, you don't get to just say blah and sit with it. Your thought must be completed, because I'm not going to try and defeat a half a man. I will only combat an honorable, capable combatant. And so I will steel man you and make you capable. Guys, you've watched the video. What are your first impressions?
Honestly, I think my impression of it myself is that he did it as a knee-jerk reaction and he's panicking, trying to explain where all this comes from. And like you broke down, he didn't do a really good job of trying to get his point across, or at least if he did, anyone who actually thinks about it, I think would have to be led to the conclusion that he's not, his idea of how your message comes is no longer, how to put it, it has become less trusted. He doesn't know how to deal with it. Everything is coming apart, and he wants desperately everyone to keep going to him for the answers. Don't go to anyone else. Come to us. We will tell you what you need to believe. It is kind of what I got the gist of.
Robert Reich. Well, see, but Robert Third Reich there is, he's not a media type. I'm actually trying to Google in a separate window here where he came from, because I'm blanking on it. But Chris said in his opening monologue, he's either just wrong and so wrong, or he's malicious. And see, I think he's malicious. you don't ascend to his level of power by being stupid. Let's see. Robert Reich. Hey, Wikipedia. Do. His level of position and put together the type of video that he is putting together as a knee-jerk reaction. Let's see. Served Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford and was Secretary of Labor under President Bill Clinton from 93 to 97. Yeah, so I don't believe that anybody that was smart enough to be Secretary of Labor just has no idea how any of this stuff works. And a labor secretary, you mean a union organizer, wants to push propaganda? No, not at all. And especially a guy like Trump, who is probably not union friendly. Trump is probably a right to worker from the floor up. So yeah, that's my impression of it. This guy Robert Reich, I've just been peripherally aware of him for years, and I've been watching these videos that he's been putting out. This is not the first one of these I have watched and kind of rolled my eyes because he takes a lot of truth and arranges what he says in just such a way where he really doesn't even have to lie all that often. And by the time he hits you with, well, what media means is blah, 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 he's already told you all these other things that sound all reasonable and are at least mostly true, or they at least fit in with your worldview of what truth is. So by the time he gets to the big lie, the big whopper that somehow it is completely abnormal for politicians to bypass the media. Hey, wait, don't they all give speeches? I mean, like every single one of them? Just because, in fact, the whole concept of the press release was something that Goebbels came up with as how politicians could inflict their propaganda on the masses. The official statement from the politicians, as it were. I'm not trying to get too far sideways. It's just what this guy is doing, what this video is a deliberate attack in order to further inflict. And they really want to poison the well where Donald Trump is concerned. They're terrified he's actually going to get some things done and get some things through. And this is laying the groundwork for whatever. Everything. And part of what Chris talked about last week is everybody's got to be on edge all the time. And this is part of that. This is keeping people on edge.
That's true.
Yeah, as you're as you were talking about that, Cameron, talking about Robert Reich, he's got a new video out decrying the evils of right-to-work states, and one of the evils that is that right to work people don't pay dues. Like, whoa, your argument is that we should get rid of right-to-work laws because people should be required to pay for the privilege of working?
Can I just point out to the irony that I just said that he was a big pro-union, scary guy, and he probably hated right-to-work states. And then without me even knowing, his latest video was a video tearing down right-to-work stuff. That's, yes.
Finger on the pulse.
Yeah, boom, I shit you not, right there.
Liar, yeah.
Whoa!
What did you do there?
Don't do research and development.
There you go.
Don't add value, and therefore are the most likely to go abroad for even cheaper labor at the slightest provocation. It's bad enough American wages have been stuck in the mud for.
Yeah, we'll get back to that one later. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like a whole nother topic coming.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to throw a disclaimer on the beginning of this video that we are going to be criticizing the Robert Reich video, so that makes it fair use. Because we already had our little argument with Fox News about using the president's acceptance speech.
That they didn't even argue about.
But we're back
to the Robert Reich video.
Say again.
We are running our own commentary. We are enhancing the Robert Reich video. We're not attempting to steal it. We're attempting to transform it.
Hang on. To be fair, we're not enhancing the video. We're repairing it.
We're telling you what he meant to be saying.
Yes, enhancing requires that a thing not be broken already. You improve a thing which is good. You fix some shit that's broken.
And he seems to spend a whole lot of that. So you were talking about the subject of steel manning, which you kind of did by breaking down the part of his argument that was the red herring. You steel man by actually providing the definition of the words he was trying to, whether intentionally or unintentionally, wound up misconstruing as to what the job of the media is in the realm of existence. Was there something further manning you wanted tonight?
Well, I thought the job of the media was to be the fourth branch of government, as it were. That they're not supposed to be this pass-through. They're not supposed to be the Jewish priest or the Catholic Pope or whatever, where only he can deliver you this all-important information. I thought the media was supposed to be its own check and balance. It existed on the spectrum. That was why free speech was protected the way that it was protected. A lot of people don't know that the reason why newspapers are called things like the San Francisco Democrat or the New Orleans Republican, or because they used to be exclusively like pro-Democrat or pro-Republican or anti-Republican or anti-Democrat publications. And you took them and you read them and you took what was in them with a grain of salt. And you understood there's probably a lot of truth here. But this truth probably had a lot of agenda mixed in with it, which is an awful lot like that Robert Reich video we were just talking about.
Okay, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and tear into the video. Now, I'm not entirely certain how this is going to work with the screen sharing, so I'm going to try it real quick, and I want you guys to let me know if you can hear it okay. Where's my mouse?
Historically, tyrants have tried to control the press using 4 techniques that worryingly Donald Trump is already using. Number 1, berate the media and turn the public against it. Trump refers to journalists as dishonest, disgusting, and scum.
Who counts number 1 with their thumb?
Viciousness, disgust.
All right, we don't actually need to see the footage of Trump doing the things that Robert Reich has accused him of. I'll go ahead and give him that. I'll go ahead and sort of give him that one. Here's the deal, though. Trump didn't just all of a sudden decide that the media was bad. Okay, it has pretty much been the rallying cry of most intellectually honest Americans for some time now that the media has been corrupted for a long time. And the truth of the matter is that the media that we're talking about, your major newspapers, your major television networks, they have been super far left-leaning for a very, very long time, for decades. It was less apparent until, mid-90s, when Fox News became big. And all of a sudden, there was a counterpoint. So when the only point of view you had was a far left biased point of view, it didn't seem like it was all that far left biased because it had nothing to compare it against. Butthead explained it pretty well. Stuff's got to suck. Because, if nothing sucks, then how did you ever know it rocked? I don't do a very good Butthead. I haven't watched Beavis and Butthead in 20 years. But anyway, he made that point. He said some stuff's got to suck because if nothing ever sucked, then if everything rocked, you'd never know it. Stuff's got to suck so you can know when stuff rocks. Well, stuff's got to right so you can know when stuff's left, and vice versa. So Trump calling out the media and saying, "Look, you're corrupt. You're corrupt. You're left leaning." He didn't just point out something that we already knew. He tapped into the outrage that we already felt about it. And that's a perfectly legitimate tactical maneuver.
Honestly, that's a pretty legitimate public service. And for me not being a Trump fan, that part I did like.
Yeah, and there's a great example of why Donald Trump won.
Yeah, he has amazing instincts. He knew that part of his path to success involved kicking the media in the teeth, because for years, how many of us have just said, for example, to Herman Cain, don't back down, don't run away, but then his funding dries up and he can't keep doing the rallies and whatever. Well, Trump didn't have that problem. A, he had the money to keep going, and B, he had the mouth to fight back. It goes back to the point Chris made that Trump was the one that was the best equipped to win the 2016 election because he was the one that was willing to just say it and do it.
Yes, war is prior to ethics. War is not ethical. And make no mistake, the Democrat Party, the far left, has not allowed politics to be a gentleman's sport for a very long time. It has been a war since the inception of the Republican Party, when a bunch of rich old white dudes decided, you know what, slavery's bullshit. We're going to put a stop to it. Ever since that, at the absolute most recent, the rise of the Republican Party to free the slaves was the end of politics as a gentleman's sport, at least in the United States of America. It is a war, and it is a war for our liberty and our very right to live, not just the pursuit of happiness, but we're arguing to be allowed to survive. Now, anything else before we move on to the next point?
No, that one was a pretty easy breakdown.
Okay. All right, you just bear with me. I'm catching up. It's on one of the other. It's on the furthest away screen it could be. My bad.
He lies, claiming, for example, massive voter fraud in the election and that he won in a landslide, and the media call him on those lies. He says the media is lying. Even televised satires he labels unfunny, one-sided, and pathetic.
All right.
Can I just please point out the irony of him being mad of Donald Trump claiming voter fraud when basically the entire Democrat Party's line is that the election was a fraud because somehow Putin talked down in Brazil into giving Hillary debate questions and getting together with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and writing all these anti-Semitic emails to freeze Bernie out of the process.
That's exactly where I was going to go with that.
Anyhow.
All the way up until the election, Donald Trump said that there was some shady shit going on. It's rigged. They're stealing votes or buying votes. It's a fixed game. And before we even got to the general, Hillary was calling him crazy, saying, "No, you're crazy. There's no trickery, no crookedness, or anything like that." But what about Bernie? We have immutable proof that the Democrat National Party committed voter fraud against Bernie. They stole the nomination from their own party. So they couldn't even run their own election straight. Then we have the videos from help me out, Cameron. The DNC insider footage with all the DNC inside party guys saying, "Hey, it was actually this is what we do. We bust people in, we stuff ballot boxes, we bring in illegals to vote even though they're not supposed to. We move people from state to state so they can vote multiple times." Damn it, Cameron, you know what I'm talking about. It's the same guys that broke the story on Planned Parenthood selling baby parts. Anyway.
Oh, are you talking about Project Veritas?
Yes, Veritas, the Project Veritas video that literally had the agents of corruption, the the agents that the DNC and the DNP use actively to actually orchestrate the fraud, confessing to their fraud methods on camera. So we have all this evidence of fraud, of voter fraud and crookedness going on in the election before the election happens. The DNC is screaming there's no such thing. Not only is there not any corruption going on, the way our system is set up, it's not possible for there to be corruption. It's not possible for they argued so many times. They pointed out the voting machines are not hooked up to the internet. There's no way to access them, to hack them. You cannot hack the national election in the United States. It cannot be done. It's not just that there isn't any corruption. Corruption is impossible. They were screaming this from the rooftops. Donald Trump wins. It was the Russians. All of a sudden, Donald Trump wins, and it was the Russians.
In Mother Russia, election cheat you.
Yeah, it's been something else. And what's funny to me is, just as a sideline here, if you want to go ahead and look for that next cue for our next bullet point in that video, I find it interesting how for so long, you nailed it, no corruption, no corruption. Now that's all they want to yell about, is how bad all this stuff is and all this power that Trump's going to have. If there's any power to be taken out of this, it's the infrastructure they built and developed. I'd be afraid of someone taking over my tricks too.
Yeah, and how did the fake news about Hillary putting an illegal server in her bathroom? Oh, wait, no, that wasn't fake.
Right.
Or the fake news where Loretta Lynch met with Bill Clinton just a few days before Comey recommended no indictment against her.
But no, that didn't really. Oh, wait, you have pictures. Never mind.
Yeah. No kidding.
Right. And then
it's. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. No, go ahead. Go ahead with what you were going to say, and then I'll pick up the next bit.
Oh, just that it couldn't possibly be that Hillary Clinton was a terrible, unlikable candidate who was very obviously, very transparently a crooked politician. It couldn't be that at all. And it also couldn't be all of the virtue signaling that Trump did. Somebody made the point the other day, and I thought it was really brilliant, that the people that don't like Trump do not take him seriously, but take him literally. The people that do like Trump do not take him literally, but take him seriously. When Trump says, we're going to build a wall and we're going to make Mexico pay for it, they know that they're not going to give Mexico a bill saying you owe us $6.8 billion. But what they will do is dump a few criminals back on Mexico, maybe stop some Ford plants from being in Mexico, and most importantly, actually build the wall. Or in this case, the virtue is that you're actually going to enforce the law in and of itself. So yeah, it was a combination of Hillary being terrible and Trump actually understanding things like Hillary is a terrible candidate, and the media is terribly dishonest, so I'll kick them in the teeth a couple of times. So yeah, but let's listen to Robert Reich cry about what he thinks it is.
And then the other one, he said that Trump lied about winning the election in a landslide. Okay, so they're telling us that Hillary actually won the popular vote by about 2 million votes.
Almost 3 million now.
Okay, whatever.
I'm just being honest.
Honestly, I think Trump's right. If we could delete the illegal alien vote, it's probably a wash. So, but let's just play with that for a minute. So, Trump says he won in a landslide. Well, but Hillary had the popular vote. Did she? Let's see. Oh, that's right. Trump won 90% of the counties in the country. Geographically, he took 90% of the country. Hillary didn't take a single whole state. Look at California, far left California. No, California, where people are working, where people go to work and grow your food and shit, they vote right. Where do people vote left? In Mexico.
Well, all the major cities, all that high dollar stuff along the coastline.
Yeah, they vote for the left in northern Mexico, in movie county, in movie territory, and up here where all the old retired people are. Right? I mean, landslide. I'm sorry. With what was it, 318 electoral votes to hurt, he won by over 100 electoral college votes.
Yeah.
There's a reason, and that reason is densely populated cities that are utterly out of touch with the rest of America. Densely populated. Los Angeles, New York. That's essentially all she won is Los Angeles and New York.
This is something you can fact check me. Oh, sorry.
To say that Trump does not have a mandate here is just preposterous.
Well, specifically, what you're talking about with these densely populated areas, is exactly what the founding fathers were worried about, is that over time, America would evolve 5 or 10 densely populated city-states that would control everything. And you could either move into the city and be a part of the system, or you could live in the countryside and do what that city-state told you to do. It is exactly why they deliberately set up part of our system to be disproportional. It was on purpose, not an accident.
Yeah, they want to thank all these people that were smart enough to found a nation and clever enough to outdo the world's largest military force in order to maintain independence, somehow just didn't get the Electoral College right. I think they spent a great deal of time engineering that to make sure that there would be a defense of a small voice.
And, if Hillary had maybe won Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Ohio, I don't think they'd give a flying flip about the popular vote or the Electoral College. It really is just that
they didn't get what they wanted.
Yeah, they didn't get what they wanted. They built up Trump to be this horrible demon in their mind, and then he actually got elected, and they all panicked. What's really funny to me is that a whole lot of these people that are so upset, I want to be terribly snarky to them and say things like, "Hey, remember 8 years ago when I told you that you were about to fuck my healthcare up? You remember that? You know how I felt 8 years ago? And I was right. I was correct when I said that Obama was going to wreck my healthcare." So now that you're panicking about Donald Trump, welcome to the club. Some of us have been worried for years now. In fact, some of us have been worried for decades, if you want to tell the truth. But that's not even going back that far. I'm just talking about the snowflake generation, the people that are really panicking over Trump. So yeah, what you got next from Third Reich there?
All right. I'm sorry, this sharing is a little bit clunky, but
yeah, I'll be right back. I did watch the video earlier. I've got to go grab a sweatshirt. It is cold in this basement studio.
Trump avoids news conferences. He's blocked the media from traveling with him, and even from knowing with whom he's meeting. His phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin, which occurred shortly after the election, was first reported by the Kremlin. Number 3, threatening the media.
First reported by the Kremlin. Oh, no.
We don't have to talk about that for very long. Limiting access to the media. I'd like to point something out real quick. Donald Trump is about to take office following the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama, who had Joe Biden as his vice president. We're talking about a presidency that had the hot mic incident where Barack Obama was caught saying to Medvedev, hey, look, tell Vlad just to give me a couple of weeks until after the election, and I'll have a lot more flexibility. At the conference about our missile defense system that we're building over there, he got hype. He got hot mic committing treason and didn't get impeached. That's outrageous. And this is the same media reporting this that somehow managed to show us Joe Biden on 2 separate occasions pointing at the guy with the football. He pointed to the military man whose job it is to carry a briefcase chained to his wrists containing the nuclear launch codes. He identified the football. He told the world, this guy has the codes to the U.S. nuclear arsenal, and he's walking around. He's right here. You can tell where he is because he's on the fucking news on camera. Really? How is Joe Biden not in jail right now? So limiting access to the media, limiting media access to Trump. Yeah, I'm actually okay with that. As a military guy, the thing about the media currently, we have seen this media throughout the reign of President Obama get SEAL Team 6 shot down, reporting Joe Biden running his mouth off. Yeah, we got Osama, and it was SEAL Team 6. The brave guys from SEAL Team 6, they killed Osama bin Laden. Yeah, and then they got shot down. They got targeted because Uncle frickin' Joe painted a target on him.
I'd actually like to
out of the football. This guy's a menace, and the world gets to see it because he's constantly in the media spotlight.
I'd like to counter that Donald Trump has completely different instincts than Joe Biden. In fact, even by politician standards, Joe Biden is a special piece of work. And to use him as your measuring stick, for me, I don't mind the less access to the media. What he's referring to is an incident where Donald Trump basically told the media he was done for the night. So most of the reporters went home, and then they snuck out the back door and went and got a steak at some steakhouse. And it just freaked the media out because he didn't invite them along. And it's not like he said, oh, well, this official press briefing, the media is not invited to it. That's not what happened. What happened is he snuck out the back door to go have dinner with his family. And that's what Robert Reich is referring to here. And while I appreciate the fact that media access can be extremely dangerous for our national security purposes, Joe Biden, man, he's a rare bird. He really, really is. I'm almost gonna miss crazy plagiarist Joe. I really am, because he is crazy.
Yeah. I would also like to point out that the last point that Robert Reich's going to make has to do with Donald Trump's tweeting, and we already talked about that a little bit. But the fact that he tweets, that he does communicate with us directly, that negates this concern about limiting the access of the media, because we get to take the filter off.
Right.
We get to hear what he's actually saying. And if he says some stupid shit, we should call him out on it. He said some stupid shit.
Yep.
Dude say stupid shit. Sometimes that's what we do.
Well, he can continue to virtue signal with Twitter. That 140 characters is, man, it forces you to get right to the point. And the fact that he can go around them and he can convey his intentions directly. Because what happens is Donald Trump says, oh man, we've got all of these like gangbangers and rapists and drugs and drug dealers coming over our border from Mexico. And then what the media does is they take it and they go, oh my God, Trump said all Mexicans are rapists and drug dealers. And of course, that's not what Trump said. That's not what Trump did. With Twitter, they can't do that. They can't take his words and turn it into something else. If you follow Donald Trump on Twitter, there's no way they can spin it. You're just going to get his tweet, and you're going to think and feel about his tweet exactly how he intends you to think and feel about his tweet.
Yep. And I'd like to point out real quick, you mentioned some of these people are rapists, or I don't even remember how you just said it, but the way you just said it was actually even more damning than what he actually said. Because what he actually said was there are people coming over the border, and among them, there are criminals who are rapists and drug dealers and murderers. And that somehow got turned into, as we all know, all Mexicans are rapists. And I think it's funny that the left jumped on that one. You know, they never accused Donald Trump of saying all Mexicans are drug dealers or all Mexicans are murderers. Like, somehow that's more defensible. No, they're all rapists. That's what he said. Yeah. Okay, so no, nothing dishonest or telling there. Now let's get on to this threatening the media thing.
During the campaign, Trump threatened to sue the New York Times for libel in response to an article about two women who accused Trump of touching them inappropriately years ago, and then another that revealed part of his 1995 tax returns. He says he plans to open up our libel laws so when they write purposely negative and horrible and false articles, we can sue them and win lots of money.
Okay, true. He did say that he wants to open up libel laws and make those lawsuits easier. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to defend Robert Reich on this one a little bit, teeny tiny little bit. Trump did say that he wanted to open up the libel laws. And now I'm going to attack Donald Trump a little bit. We already have libel laws. You can totally sue them for what they did. And what they did was absolutely actionable as libel. So, just like the claims against Herman Cain, what we had, and we predicted it on this show. We talked about it October before last, and earlier in the year, we all predicted, October surprise. They're gonna bring out a bunch of women who say that Donald Trump raped them, and they're all gonna say that he did it. And then after the election's over, whether he wins or loses, you're never gonna hear from him again. They're just gonna disappear. And sure enough, he's not even inaugurated yet. We're only we're barely 2 months away. Actually, today,
more like 2 weeks.
Today, it's been 2 months since the election today. And yeah, we're 10 days away from the 11 days away from the inauguration. So, and anybody heard anything about these alleged rape cases? Nope, they disappeared because they weren't legitimate. There was one that stuck out. Porn star came out and said that Donald Trump treated her badly. And I watched her testimony, and I shit you not, she testified, well, I met him at a party, and he invited me to go on a walk, to go with him on a walk on the beach. And while we were walking on the beach, he invited me to come back to his hotel room, and where we had a very nice dinner. And then he invited me to come back to his hotel room the next night. And when I arrived at the penthouse with a friend, she brought a friend. The porn star brought another porn star with her. When we arrived at the penthouse, he greeted us at the door and he gave us both kisses. He kissed us both. And well, that wasn't welcome. And then we had a nice dinner, a very expensive dinner. And then he kept calling to see if I'd come to say that he wanted to see me again. That's the whole story. Like they didn't even actually have sex. She didn't even claim that they had sex. But she came out and put her story in the paper as one of Donald Trump's sexual assault victims. And really? He took you for a walk on the beach. He bought you dinner. He bought you dinner again. And he went in for a kiss. I'm sorry, but that sounds to me like pretty normal, healthy human courtship.
Yeah, and if you're a porn star and Donald Trump is buying you $500 plates of food and inviting you up to his penthouse, it's not because he enjoys your sparkling conversation.
If you're a porn star and anybody's buying you $500 plates of food and inviting you up to their penthouse,
it's because they want you to be a porn star.
they have expectations. And those expectations are probably dirty. And
they're probably fans.
Go ahead and call me a victim blamer here, but you kind of set them up.
I wouldn't even say that was that nefarious. I'm sure at the time everything was innocuous, but somebody who heard that story says, you need to turn this around and tell that a little bit differently.
Oh, yeah. It's like Chris said, that sounds like normal courtship. I mean, how many girls did I, buy them a drink just so I could try and put my arm around them while I handed them the drink? How many girls did I say, hey, can I take you out to dinner later? So I could take them out to dinner, and then, what happens. And I'm not saying that, we all should just chase women all the time, but to act like what was happening here was anything other than they were all probably being a little flirty with one another. And, oh no, I'm a porn star and I'm just going to walk down the beach. I'm sure it was in sweats with no makeup and,
Right.
Sure.
I'm sure.
So yeah. And then let's go ahead and knock out his fourth point, because it's about time to get to the good guy of the week. Good guy with the gun of the week.
No.
What an unfortunate countenance.
Bypass the media directly. Trump tweets incessantly, issues videos, holds large rallies, all of which further enable him to lie directly to the public with impunity. The word media comes from intermediate between the powerful and the public. Responsible media hold the powerful accountable by correcting their misstatements, asking them hard questions, and reporting on what they do. Apparently, Trump wants to eliminate such intermediaries. Historically, these four techniques have been used by demagogues to erode the freedom and independence of the press. Donald Trump.
Okay, and now he's going to accuse Donald Trump of being such a demagogue. Okay, so the first thing I want to address in this, since we already talked about the tweet and I already accused this guy of lying to you with the intermediary thing, I'm not going to explain that again. That's your red herring. Okay, that's your red herring. I'm going to lie to you about what this word means. Right? This is something that the left does with words like racism. I'm going to lie to you about what this word means. Racism means that white people hate everybody. No, that's not what racism is. His explanation of the word media is a bald-faced lie. He knows he's lying. He knows that what he's doing is misleading you and trying to damage your understanding of truth. Now, this last thing he said, though, I find that very interesting, the way he said it, very telling. And y'all should go to the website and watch the whole video straight through, and you'll see that he doesn't source it. So he's just made a claim. He's just made a fact claim. The fact claim that he made is these four techniques have been used throughout history by demagogues to erode the power of the press and make it less free. That's the fact claim that he just made.
There is nothing in anything he says right there, if you listen to what's said at all, that limits what the press can do. Except limiting direct access to him for interviews, which how many times was Obama on Hannity? Just saying.
Right. Yeah. How many times did Obama do a Fox News interview?
How many times in the most recent election cycle did the Democrat Party have a Democrat convention debate on Fox News? I seem to remember the Republicans going on MSNBC and ABC and plenty of hostile territory.
Yep. And oh, look, we won. How do you win a war?
As a matter of fact, won by the swaying of several blue states who tended to watch those news services where they did debate. That's interesting.
Yeah, Hillary didn't lose because she didn't campaign in those states and the Republicans did. That wasn't it at all.
That's how you win a war. You go to where the enemy is and you kill him. You destroy him where he is. You destroy him where he lives. And you occupy that space. And you put boots on the ground. And you leave those boots to maintain that area. You do not announce your leave date and pull out prematurely without even having concluded the conflict or giving rise to ISIS or these fucking shitburgers. Excuse my fucking shitburgers.
You've
Now,
done
here's
pretty
the
well without the invective tonight.
now, the rest of that, the fact is, this is my fact claim about the video. He has just made a fact claim. He has claimed that demagogues throughout history have used these 4 techniques to erode the power and the freedom of the press in order to mislead the media. And he accused Donald Trump of lying in tweets. But, so there's 2 fact claims. Show me a tweet and tell me how he lied. Don't make a fact claim without backing it up. If demagogues throughout history have used these techniques, show me. Don't tell me that it has happened. Show me where it has happened. Tell me where it has happened. At least publish your source material with your video. But no, you click on the YouTube link and go to the video. That link is on our website too. Go to thebrushfiremind.com and click on the conversation, and you'll be on the private side, basically Facebook type page we have. I've got this video up there so that you can go check it out, watch it on YouTube. Not that I want to give this guy any more money, but I feel it's important to engage the conversation and examine the media, examine the evidence, so that you can adequately attack and destroy it. Now, he made the fact claim, and then he didn't present any evidence that the claim is actually fact. He didn't point anything out. Now, in Reich's defense, in fairness to him, there are some examples of tyrants using something similar to Twitter. Hitler, for example, went to soup kitchens. Hitler would go into soup kitchens and talk to poor people, and that's how he spread the message of socialism and communism. Trump's target base was not poor people in kitchens. Now, the other thing that I want to point out is that he's pointing out the Twitter thing. Does Hillary not have a Twitter? Does Obama not have a Twitter? Are there any current power players, power brokers, elected politicians, elected figures who don't have Twitter?
How many press briefings did Hillary do over the past 2 years?
Right? 0, by the way. But he's accusing Donald Trump of doing things that literally every other politician has done. And Hillary's famous for cherry picking the media, the press that she allows access to her. So everything that he's accusing Donald Trump of doing is done by every politician, and especially the Democrats. Because let's be real, quite frankly, the Republicans, one of the reasons that they fell out of power as drastically and rapidly as they did back in 2008 is that Barack Obama was savvy on social media. He had a better internet game. He had a better ground game with the young people because he was more savvy on Twitter and Facebook. Was MySpace still a thing back then? Barely. But Obama was savvy on the social media stuff, and a bunch of old white Republicans just don't 144 with the little thumbs going. So Donald was not the first one to take to social media to spread political messaging, but boy, was he most effective. He was incredibly effective because it is not, with Donald, it is not that he tweets. It is not just that he tweets, But when Donald Trump tweets, that is your headline tomorrow morning. That is front page news. Period.
It's true.
Done deal. He writes the narrative. He has taken to writing the narrative. And that's a very important part of the tactic that he had to use to win, because the narrative has been scripted by the enemy left for so very, very long. Now, I think we've beat this horse just about dead enough. I think we're going to run over about 5 or 10 minutes tonight. Steve, if you would please go ahead and take over and give us our good guy with a gun story.
I will, and you know I'm more than happy to. Because here at the Brushfire Mind, we do strongly support the Second Amendment and your right and duty to defend yourself, your family, and anybody else who's facing imminent life-threatening harm. This one just a seemingly innocuous night in around Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The story I was led to through bearingarms.com, and the story comes by way of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. I believe the dateline would be December 30th, 2016. The article I'm looking at isn't actually date stamped somehow. But a man walking his dog Tuesday night near his home shot 2 people who tried to rob him, killing one and wounding the other. Now, I'll paraphrase some of the rest of the article. A 17-year-old of Milwaukee and an 18-year-old companion. The 17-year-old was killed. The 18-year-old was wounded. 36-year-old man with a legal concealed carry permit and legal weapon. Happened about 10 p.m. 2 robbers were driving around looking for a victim, the alderman said. I guess aldermen play a bigger role up there than they do here in Georgia. Obviously, these people picked the wrong person, but not everyone has concealed carry. We all get a sense of security because it's our neighborhood, but we have to be diligent. And I think that's as valid as it gets. And just to show that that it was a long night for these 2 before they ran into him, there was an attempted robbery 2 blocks away, and they were suspects in that as well after the fact. So a night of ripping and tearing things up and making general fools of themselves, they picked on the wrong guy. And he did his absolute duty and protected his life and limb.
And even though this is going to sound terrible and heartless and cold-blooded, and there is part of me that weeps for the fact that a 17-year-old died in this encounter, the fact that this is a DRT is good news. This is great news.
He doesn't hurt anyone else when he'd already showed he wasn't above doing it.
Not only that, but the thing is, frankly, it does send a message, and it is terrible. But it's like you said, he's already proven that he is not above doing this himself. And what would happen in reverse? One day you continue on this path, and then you're in a situation where you have to hurt or kill somebody else, or you yourself are hurt or killed. You're never going to get shot in a liquor store robbery if you don't rob the liquor store. It just is what it is.
No, that's true.
So yeah, this is a fantastic good guy with a gun because it's got a DRT right there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's abstinence.
And incidentally, Wisconsin also does have the laws that cover anybody who is an accessory in a crime that ends up in one of the perpetrators becoming deceased is an accessory to homicide for being present during the committing of a crime where one of your partners winds up dead, which is a beautiful.
So at the very least, you catch a manslaughter charge on top of everything else, and I love it.
Yep. You didn't have to be the one carrying the weapon, nothing else. The fact you were present, you let it happen, you did not alert authorities there was a crime about to be committed, makes you an accessory to homicide if someone dies. Not to just gloss over anything else, we did have a pretty severe incident in Fort Lauderdale's airport recently. I don't know a lot of details on it, but it appears somebody traveled from Alaska with a legal pistol in checked baggage, former National Guardsman, I think, that in Fort Lauderdale, after he picked up his baggage, he was in the non-secure area of the airport where it is legal to have the pistol. Everything he did traveling with his gun was absolutely legal and under normal circumstances, doesn't harm anyone. he got to the non-secure area, had access to his pistol, and shot several people. I think 5 ended up dead, several wounded, which is a tragic thing.
Well, this is a guy that apparently told the FBI a few weeks ago that he felt like ISIS was controlling his brain and telling him to fight for them. So, you know,
yeah, the laws didn't work.
Probably the gun's fault.
Laws, when you can't enforce the ones we have no better end result than what you're already seeing.
Well, we could probably do a whole episode on the inadequacy of the TSA.
It's not just the inadequacy of the TSA. I think we could do a whole episode. It's got to be a logical fallacy that the FBI is told to ignore Muslim connections deliberately. I mean, that is part of the problem. That's a situation you've described in the past as a potential problem. That
Yeah, I don't think that's I don't think much logical fallacy is criminal negligence. No, not criminal negligence. That's I don't think negligence covers it.
That's
like,
more right territory, though,
because it's pretty malicious. I mean, that's a malicious act. That's malicious and treasonous.
Yeah.
To be in a position of authority wherein your responsibility includes the security and good faith of the American people, and to issue orders to the agencies responsible to enforce that responsibility on your behalf, to ignore credible threats to that security. That sounds a lot like aid and comfort to the enemy.
You know, with the exception of Dylan Roof, has there been a single shooter in the past several years, any mass murderer of this type, that has not had some type of ISIS or Islamic connection? I mean, seriously, isn't it like 99% of them end up where turns out the FBI's got a file on them like this thick, but because they're not allowed to use Islam as a possible connecting point with all of the other data they have on the suspect, well, there's just not a lot you can do.
I'm hard pressed to come up with one. I know there's got to be one or two, but no names come to me that weren't connected at some point.
Well, I mean, the San Bernardino case was red flagged. The Boston bombers were red flagged. I mean, it's a recurring theme.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's true.
Major Hassan was red flagged.
Yeah,
they knew he was in constant contact with Pakistan. You know, if you're a Muslim and you're doing secret communications with Pakistan, there's probably a real short list of reasons why you're doing it. Just saying.
Yeah, a call to mom doesn't have to be secret.
All right, and I think we need to call it a night, but I'm going to go ahead and engage a little tradition here. We'll try to keep this stuff going forward. We have a new user just signed up to the Brushfire Mind, join the conversation.
Excellent.
And so I'm going to go ahead and confirm him as a user. I'm not gonna give out your whole name but Robert, welcome to the Brushfire Mind. We look forward to having you burn with us. I know you're not watching right now, but you clearly were watching a little while ago. And thanks for joining the show. Thanks for your subscription. And I look forward to seeing you on the user boards.
Absolutely. Join the conversation.
But that aside, thanks for watching us tonight, and we'll see you next Sunday. And remember, until then, if you build a man a fire, you will keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life. Good night.
Witness!